What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're looking at the top 10, well 11, I'm cheating a little bit, most exciting new cards from Worlds Collide, the new Keyforge expansion. It is far too early to try and predict what the best cards are going to be, but it is not too early to talk about the most exciting cards. So, let's have a gander, shall we? Now, what I've done is take one from each of the 5 existing houses and 3 from each of the 2 new houses, because the new houses are inherently a little bit more exciting. I know that makes 11, but I honestly tried to cut it down, and I could not find a cut. My apologies. So, starting off with some honourable mentions, I didn't quite make it. Infernus, a lovely new discard. Now, Infernus is a 4-power, 0-armor creature. When you play, you purge up to 2 cards from a discard pile. Your opponent loses amber equal to the total amber bonus of the purged cards. And really here, what I'm most excited about is using it in all of those, or against, all of those Call of the Archon amber rushing decks with multiple Dust Pixie. Hey, I'm going to purge 2 Dust Pixie and you're going to lose 4 Amber. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. Keyforge is a really exciting new key cheating card that we are going to be getting in logos. Gives you an Amber bonus and allows you to forge a key at plus 10 current cost, reduced by 1 for each card in your hand. Now, this is objectively a worse version of Key Abduction, a card that we've had in Mars since Call of the Archons, although we don't have it in Worlds Collide. Mars have been temporarily removed. Here's the thing though, Logos is a house which is known for their drawing. Look at cards in the set like Zenzik, or cards like Daughter. And you'll see that actually, even though we're in the new set, we are still very much up to our old tricks. Plus, they're really known for their archiving. And of course, when you archive at the beginning of your turn, you can pick up your entire archive. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out that Keyforge is going to be great. Weezand is a Shadows card, and I really like this one. Now, it is a 1-power, 0-armor creature which is weak, but it does at least have elusive. And it's got deploy, so you can put it anywhere you like in your battle line. Now, if it ever ends up on a flank, it gets immediately destroyed, but after a player forges a key, you gain 2 amber. You forge a key, get 2 amber. Your opponent forges a key, get 2 amber. This is an awful lot of fun. Eldest Bear has been teased in the flavor text of cards since Call of the Archons. We finally get it, and it does not disappoint. 5 power, 0 armor, and it's got assault free. That is to say, when you attack, you do 3 damage before the fight even happens. Attack a creature with 3 power or less, and it will get destroyed before the fight even happens. And while it's in the center of your battle line, it's a leader, so it's got a center of the battle line skill. It gains before fight, gain 2 amber. Which means that if you start a fight, before the fight even happens, you deal 3 damage and gain 2 amber. Tell me that doesn't sound really, really fun. Now, over in the Saurian Republic, there are some cards that I absolutely loved, but I still couldn't make space for on my top 10 list. Cincinnatus Rex, a very useful creature. 6 power, 4 armor, and 4 armor is huge. If there are no enemy creatures, you destroy Cincinnatus Rex, yowza. But when you fight, you may exalt it, that is to say, put an amber from the common supply onto it. When Cincinnatus Rex goes down, that amber goes to your opponent. And then ready each other friendly card, not creature, card. Any artifact with an Omni ability, any Saurian creature, any non-Saurian creature that you're allowed to use, is amazing. It doesn't let you use any creatures out of house, but any creatures you would be able to use, you can use. So essentially what you do is you use Cincinnatus Rex last, and then when you fight, which you'll want to, you got 4 armor, you should be able to attack a bunch of creatures without taking any damage. You exalt it, and then ready each other friendly card. Exalting isn't always worth it, but with Cincinnatus Rex it is. The Colosseum, that's a great card. It's another key cheating card, and Staurian Republic have 3 of them. After an enemy creature is destroyed while fighting, regardless of whether it's your turn, regardless of who the active house is, you put a glory counter on the Colosseum, and you have an Omni ability. If there are 6 or more glory counters on the Colosseum, remove 6 and forge a key at current cost. If you've got a good enough fighting deck, you can literally forge keys 3 turns in a row using the Colosseum. That's redonkulous, ladies and gentlemen. And in the Star Alliance, we've got honourable mention for Psi Officer King Khan, 2 power, 0 armor with elusive, and after a player chooses an active house which matches no cards in play, you steal an amber. Now, for you, this is nice and easy. Make sure you're using a house when you can with no cards in play. That's creatures, artifacts, or upgrades. And then, yeah, you steal an amber. But you're also going to make your opponent make a decision where they go, well, I really want to play Shadows, but I've not got any Shadows cards out, so if I go Shadows, I have to give you an amber. That is a fun predicament to put your opponent in. And the final honourable mention, yes, I'm aware of how many there are. I'm excited about this set. Helmsman Spears. 2 power, 0 armor, but when you fight or reap, you may discard any number of cards from your hand and draw a card for each card discarded in this way. You don't get any card advantage, you end up with the same number of cards as you started with, but you do get to refresh your hand, and of course, any Star Alliance cards you draw with this, oh look, it's a Star Alliance turn. You can use them immediately. Cool. So starting off with the actual list, yes, I know we've had 7 minutes of intro and honourable mentions. Sorry. The big one. This is the Brobnar card about which I am the most excited. It is an artifact that gives you an amber bonus, and after a creature is played, any creature, anyone's turn, you put a fuse counter on the big one. If there are 10 or more fuse counters on the big one, you immediately destroy each creature and artifact. Now, bearing in mind upgrades are always attached to creatures, that means that the 10th creature played after the big one hits the field does a proper board wipe. We're not talking about a gateway to this board wipe, where it gets rid of all the creatures but leaves the artifacts. No. We are talking about a proper board wipe. And the reason this is so exciting to me is that it's going to lead to some really tense standoffs where nobody wants to play the 10th creature for fear of an actual board wipe, where you basically play down the 9th creature, do what you need to do, and then say to your opponent, you know what? Go ahead, play another creature, see what happens. It's a lot of fun. Moving into this, the most exciting card as far as I'm concerned is Harbinger of Doom. It's another kind of board wiping card, and it's another one that should create a really tense back and forth. Harbinger of Doom I absolutely adore, because essentially what it does is a 2 power 3 armor creature. There are not many creatures that have higher armor than power, though we could look at Mr. Collector Worm and go, hey Mr. Collector Worm, how you doing? And what happens is that after Harbinger of Doom is destroyed, you destroy every creature, yours and your opponent's, which means if your opponent destroys it, everything goes down. But you can go, you know what, my opponent's got a better battle line than I do, I'm not enjoying this. You throw Harbinger of Doom at a 5 power or above creature, knowing that it's going to get destroyed, and when it gets destroyed, there is a board wipe. Your opponent is going to want to leave it alone, but sometimes they're going to have to deal with it. And similarly, you're going to be able to essentially have this as a board wipe on board. Although if you've got the better board, your opponent can basically go, hey look, you've given yourself a self-destruct button. Moving into logos, the most exciting card we've got here is EDAI Eddie 4x4. This is a wonderful creature, 3 power, 0 armor, and when you play, you archive a card. Now, archiving a card is fun. You put a card from your hand into your archive, and at the beginning of the turn, you may choose to either pick up your entire archive or none of your archive. It's all very lovely. However, your opponent's keys cost 1 more amber for each card in your archive. There are going to be decks, probably a few of them out there, that have absolutely redonkulous combos with Eddie, whereby what you essentially do is you are able to build up 10, 12 cards in your archive, and then on the one hand, your opponent's keys cost loads. On the other hand, you've got a giant archive, so at one point during the game, you get to pick it up and have a monster turn. If you're able to pull it off, such that you get this and Dataforge in the same deck, you are going to be able to pull off turns where your opponent's keys cost plus 12 amber, and then all of a sudden, you get to forge a key for almost nothing. Now, that will be a deck where you've got Eddie and Dataforge and a bunch of archiving, but we all know that those cards are going to be out there. Keyforgery is a lovely new Shadows card. It's got Keyforge in the name, but we had a re on the end. And it is an artifact with an amber bonus, and when your opponent would forge a key, they name a house. You reveal a random card from your hand. If that card is not of the named house, destroy Keyforgery. They do not forge the key, but no amber is spent. They lose the forging, but they don't lose the amber. How much fun is this? This is wonderful. Essentially, your opponent has to correctly predict the house of a card in your hand. Now, generally speaking, there is a 1 in 3 chance, but your opponent's going to be able to look at your discard pile and look at your board, so they will be able to, if you've got 10 discards in the discard or on the board, they're probably not going to think there's a dis in your hand, or at least the odds are lower. It's not necessarily going to stop your opponent forging, but a lot of the time it will. And it's better than something like Keyhammer, because Keyhammer undoes a forging, but if your opponent forges their third key, Keyhammer will do nothing. Whereas this now will probably need a ruling about it, but it says, destroy Keyforgery, they do not forge the key. So that means that if your opponent is about to forge their third key, Keyforgery might literally stop them doing so, and that amuses me greatly. And Untamed, can we get a shout out for the most exciting card as far as I'm concerned? Genuinely surprised it wasn't Elder Spare. It's MOLEPHIN. First of all, it is another one of those untamed creatures which is just wonderfully designed. I love the design of so many of these untamed creatures. It is a 3 power, 0 armor creature with hazardous free. That is to say, if your opponent attacks it, they take 3 damage before the attack ever happens. If they've got 3 power or less, they're actually destroyed, and the attack never happens. That's kind of fun. But what's way more fun, and the reason it gets the nod for this particular video, after amber is stolen from you, deal 1 damage to each enemy creature for each amber stolen. So if your opponent plays down an urchin to steal 1 amber, you deal 1 damage to each of your opponent's creatures. But if your opponent plays something like a swindle to steal 3 amber, then you get to deal 3 damage to each of their creatures. It doesn't stop your opponent stealing, but it does make it a whole heap more difficult. Now, moving into the Saurian Republic, like I say, for the new ones, that I could not boil it down to 1, so I've allowed myself to take 3 from each of the 2 new houses. And with the Saurian Republic, we're going to start off with SAURUS Rex. Now, SAURUS Rex is the leader. Each house has one in Worlds Collide. 6 power, 0 armor, and when you fight or reap, if it is in the center of your battle line, remember they all have center of the battle line abilities, you may exalt it, and then search your deck for a Saurian card, reveal it, and add it to your hand. We don't have searching like this in Keyforge. Keyforge is not that kind of game. We have draw 1, draw 2 cards here or there. We do not get search your deck for any card. I don't think, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, I don't think we've had anything else which is just search your deck for anything you like. This means that on every Saurian turn, you can basically fix it so you draw into the perfect card. And bearing in mind the Saurian Republic have free key cheating cards, and you can use this to make sure you get the perfect key cheating card at the perfect time, yeah. That is pretty gosh darn nuts, ladies and gentlemen. I am hugely in favour of this. I also want to give some love out to SPARTASAUR. SPARTASAUR is just a phenomenal creature. 6 power, 1 armor, and when you fight, you gain 2 amber. Now, you've got to survive the fight for it to work, but you're 6 power, 1 armor, you're going to survive the fight. But after a friendly creature is destroyed, that is any friendly creature destroyed in any way, destroy each non-dinosaur creature. And okay, you will be losing all of your non-dinosaur creatures, as will your opponent. But if you're against a non-Saurian deck, anytime any of your creatures goes down, your opponent loses all of their creatures. Unless some of them have ward counters on, which will protect them from being destroyed. Though they then lose the ward counter, and the next time it will work nicely. This is ridiculous. A card that literally says, if you destroy any of my creatures, I'm going to destroy all of yours. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Also, quick side note, if you destroy a friendly creature, that totally works. So you can do this as well. But the thing here is, right, your opponent just won't keep creatures on the board. But you've got to have the right deck. If you've got 4 or 5 really good dinosaurs, including SPARTASAUR, this can win you the game. If you've got SPARTASAUR and no other good dinosaur creatures, it's not going to work out perfectly. I still, however, absolutely love it. But remember, there are plenty of decks out there that don't rely on having large battle lines, and against them, SPARTASAUR won't do quite as much. But I still love it. And look, I told you that there were free key cheating cards in the Saurian Republic. You knew one of them was going to make the list. It's Triumph. It's the best one. It's ridiculous. Gives you an amber bonus. If there are no enemy creatures, you exalt each friendly creature. And then if there are 6 or more friendly creatures, you forge a key at no cost. Free forging! Now, I cannot be the only one that's thinking, well, Triumph with SPARTASAUR. SPARTASAUR gets rid of all of your opponent's creatures, and then you just go for Triumph. Now, it's extremely unlikely, but if you can get SAURUS Rex in the same deck as well, I say unlikely because all 3 of these cards are rare, then use SPARTASAUR, destroy all of your opponent's creatures, SAURUS Rex will survive, it's a dinosaur, and then use SAURUS Rex to search for Triumph, make sure it's in the center of the battle line, and then forge a key. That seems like a weirdly good combo. But the reason I love Triumph so much, the reason it's so exciting, it allows you to literally forge a key at 0 cost. That's ridiculous. And to finish off with a Grand Star Alliance, we need to talk about Captain Val Jericho. One of just the hands down best cards we've seen in Keyforge. 5 power, 1 armor is pretty good, but during your turn, if Captain Val Jericho is in the center of your battle line, you may play 1 card that is not of the active house. Yeah, that's right. You get to house cheat once per turn. And this is a constant ability, right? This isn't just on a Star Alliance turn. If you can keep her in the center of your battle line, you get to play 1 non-active house card every single turn. That is going to give you a ridiculous advantage. Peace Accord is another card which I just love mechanically. From a mechanical standpoint, I think it's wonderful. It is an artifact, it's also a lore, weirdly, which I don't remember seeing on any other cards. When you play, everyone gets 2 amber. Yay! The next time a creature is used to fight, its controller loses 4 amber and you destroy Peace Accord. So you play it down, everyone gets 2 amber, and then you end up in this tense game of chicken whereby the next person to fight loses 4 amber. When you consider that the default number of amber you need to forge a key is 6, losing 4 is pretty huge. That's why I love this card so much. That's why it's so exciting to me. Mind games. Bringing in the mind games, having fun with it. It's very fun. And finally, Book of Le Queue. I adore Book of Le Queue. It is one of the biggest risk-reward cards we've ever seen. It is an artifact and it has an action. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a non-Star Alliance card, its house becomes your active house, otherwise end your turn. And judging by the rules and the turn order and all of that, end your turn means don't ready your exhausted creatures and artifacts. Don't draw until you've got 6 cards in hand. End your turn. That is one heck of a risk. That could go terribly. However, if it works, you literally change your active house. So you go Star Alliance, use your Star Alliance creatures, use your Star Alliance artifacts, you play all of your Star Alliance cards from your hand, and then you get to transition into another house. Now, the good news is we do actually have Lay of the Land and Navigator Alley, both of which will allow you to reorder the top 3 cards of your deck, so you can know for certain whether you're going to be able to do it. Be on the lookout for a deck with one or both of those cards, along with Book of Le Queue, and you are going to have a huge advantage, because you are going to be able to essentially have 2 houses on every Grand Star Alliance turn, or at least on some of them, and that is going to be ridiculous. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. The top 10 cards from Worlds Collide. Now, when I say top 10 cards, I mean the top 10 most exciting. We'll have to see whether they end up being good. But this is one of those videos where I very much want to hear from you guys. What are your most exciting cards from Worlds Collide? Which ones are you most excited about having a play with? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action. That's where we talk Keyforge and a whole bunch of other games. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio. That's my other channel, where you can support the channel, get weekly bonus podcasts, tell me which videos to make, and so on. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.